Right here we have a 2009 Subaru Tribeca. These are very rare cars here, and the few that I have worked on have had major problems. I don't know if it's the car itself that's just not well built, but they're quite interesting, and they all have very tough problems to sort through. So this is a battery drain, and it has been going through batteries crazy high. So the thing with these is that they use tiny batteries. So if you have a battery drain, this battery is not going to last even 24 hours. You'll be lucky to get 24 to 48 hours with even a mild drain. So let's see what we have here. As you can see, we have 115 milliamps of a draw, and that usually drinks that battery up under 48 hours, just slightly over 24 hours. If he does not start this car every morning, the battery will die. And he says that in the morning it's actually quite sluggish. This is the fourth battery he has bought, and Chloride have stopped warranting it because they figured out on the fourth battery that, hey, it's not our batteries, it's your car. It's amazing. These guys don't even know how to test. They should have tested the car and found out that it was the car all along. They shouldn't have wasted their warranty on 4 batteries. But the ignorance in the market is there. Anyway, so we have a fuse box open over here, and we're going to test the fuses, and I've done this already, and that fuse there is my draw. So let's put that on. So right now, again, we test a good fuse. So let's test that fuse here. And remember, if you have no draw, you should get a solid 0. Anything other than 0, you're drawing. Alright, so that's that fuse. And if you look at the meter, solid 0, no motion at all. Make sure there's no motion. Okay, so if you remove your leads, you get some movement. Now let's go to that fuse and check that out. A solid 0.1 millivolts voltage drop across that fuse. Okay, so draw confirmed. Now what I want to do is, now you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't pull the fuse out, because it could make your draw go away, and I've done this before and it has gone away and not returned. So I'm taking a risk here. So there we go. And we're just going to wait with that fuse out. Sometimes it does take a while. So there we're going down. And there we are asleep at 37 milliamps. So we fix this draw, we fix this car. All right, so let me put the fuse back, and then we are going to go to the wiring diagram and see what our fuse feeds. There's our drawback. So let's go to the wiring diagram. All right, here we're in the service manual. Now, I do not like using this link for the wiring diagrams because it brings you to this menu here, which is just... I prefer using the one from the drop down. So it's body, carbon, accessories, wiring system. Let's go to the power supply circuit. And we're going to find right-hand drive. Okay. And let's blow that up. So here we have our fuse box at the front, and fuse number 8 is our draw. So let's go to the schematic here and see what fuse number 8 feeds. So there we have fuse number 8. So it comes out on that blue red wire and it goes here to D and out here to MB29. So let's go to MB29 and see what it is. So down here, MB29. Spot map light, vanity light, puddle light. I don't think that's puddle. I think that's courtesy. Footlight, alarm, body integrated module, and room light and rear room unit. So MB29. There's another leg of that circuit. Let's go back there. It was going to D, and D was in number 4. So let's go to page 4. Here's page 4. And let's search for D. Here it is. So D comes around town, splits into 2, and this is the internal fuse box, and it goes out through A4 and B13, blue red, and circuit FB10 and circuit FB11. So let's see FB10 and FB11. FB10 is MFD, rear gate light, audio, keyless entry, control module, and by the way, the keyless entry of this car is not working. I'll just keep that in mind. Second row seat footlight, TV monitor, navigation unit, step light, rear entertainment, roof. We do not have that. Oh, we do have a sunroof up here. Okay, and rear step light. All right, now where is this draw coming from? We are either coming from, if I go back here, so we're either coming out through FB10, out through FB11, or just before this D, and that went on a different leg, which was directly out of this fuse box. Here's MB29, right? So here's the plan. We're going to go to the internal fuse box and test those 2 wires on that connector, all right? And let's go back here so I can show you what I'm talking about. FB10 and FB11. So we're going to flip this fuse box backwards, look for A4 and B13, and we're going to test whether we have a current draw here and here. If we do not have a current draw over here, then we are going to go to the other circuit on the previous page. So let me remove the driver's panel, me panel, and release the fuse box and test our wires. All right, now we want to find out where these 2 connectors are. Connector A and connector B here. Connector A is I5, connector B is R168. And I'll show you why I like using OEM diagrams, is because finding connectors is easy. So let's go down here. I think is instrument panel wiring harness. Let's go to the location, and we're already there on right hand drive. I5 here is on area C4. Let's blow up that, and here is C, and here is 4. So in this area here, and there we go, I5. So it's at the back of the fuse box. And now let's look for R168. R is rear harness, so So rear wiring harness. Again, right hand drive, 168. There is no 168. Let's look again. R168. Okay, so we don't have R168 here. Let me just be sure. 168. Oh, we do have R168. Here we go. And it's in area C1. I'll blow that up. And here it is, R168. So they're both at the back of the fuse block. So let's release the fuse block and go to the back of it and look for our two connectors. Alright, I have dropped the fuse box and completely unplugged it. This is not a power line. Let's go and check on the drain. And we still have 100 milliamp draw. So that tells me that this draw is not going through the internal fuse box. All right. Now that we know that, we now know that this leg is not our draw, which leaves MB29 as the source of our draw. So this bus MB29, what does it feed? Spot map light, vanity light, so all these lights, and then there's something here, alarm control module and body integrated unit, and the room lights. Now there are no room lights on, all of them are off. So these are the map lights, the door lights, okay, none of them are on. The back here, I've checked, so we could potentially have an issue with our alarm control module or our body integrated unit. So we have to isolate this further. Let's go to the wiring diagram for MB29 and just isolate everything. I want to find a place where I can trace that line to. So I'm going to start with the alarm module and the body integrated unit, because the draw is actually variable. It goes up to 115, goes down to 75, then goes back up. Lights will not do that. All right, so I'm focused here. So let's start with the alarm and the body integrated unit. So let us go to the alarm module. Let me just search for that. Alarm control system, and we are not KA except for KA. Let's see what we have here. Right, that's not our fuse. Not fuse, but rail, a bus. That's our bus right there, MB29. So MB29 splits. One side goes to the body integrated unit and the other side goes down to the alarm control module. All right, so the alarm control module is, if I recall correctly, not in a very convenient place. Let's keep that in mind. So let me minimize this, and then let's go to our lights. So here's the clearance light and illumination system and interior light system. So let's start with the clearance light. right hand drive. And we're going to look for MB29. And is it here? There is MB29. So MB29 goes to the body integrated unit on connector B, pin 7. All right, so that goes to the body integrated. Let's go to the other one, which is the interior light, right hand drive model. MB29 is here. So MB29, one drops down here, goes to the body integrated unit, and it branches off here, goes to a joint connector, and then we have the rear room light, the spot map light, the vanities, and the shade mirror. Okay. Oh no, the shade mirror is different. So it's just the vanities, spot map, and rear room. Okay. Now, if we look up here, these are our spot lights. They're off. Let's check our vanities. This is the driver's, and that's on. But if I do this and I put it down like that, it goes off. So that one is off. The switch is not tripped. And let's go to the passenger's vanity. I'm just going to peel this slowly, and the passenger's vanity is off. Okay, and then let's look at our room lights. So that's one room light that's off. And then the rear room light is also off. Okay, now we know that there is nothing on this leg that's on right now, and our doors are tripped, so we have nothing here. And in case it was on anyway, it's still the lights that are being controlled by that. So this only leaves one possibility, two possibilities actually. We either have a draw on our body integrated unit, or our alarm control module. It's one of these two. Now check this out. One of these two is easy to get to, one of these two is harder to get to. So the body integrated unit is very easy to get to. The alarm control module is difficult to get to because it's under the center console. Let's just verify that with the bulkhead diagram. So that's the body integrated module. It's right there, and the panel is already open for me, and those connectors are visible. But for the alarm, where is that? Alarm is B164. Where you at, B164? Here it is. So that is under the center console. Okay, so here's the plan. I am not going to remove the center console. That takes quite some effort on these Tribecas, but the other one is right here. That is the body control module, and these are our two connectors, and this is actually the connector that is the one in the diagram. So I'm going to unplug this. If the draw goes away, then the problem is with my body control module, and then you'll have to figure out what pin out is actually taking that draw. If the draw remains, then the only thing it can be is the alarm module in there. It's a very quick check, so let's do that. quickly disconnect this one here. Okay, that is disconnected. Now let's go to the battery and see if our draw is gone or is still present. All right, at battery, we still have our draw. And this is what I meant when I said that the draw is variable. Look at it. It's not consistent. It stays up there, and then periodically it goes down all the way to 65 and then comes back up. It hits a high of around 120. So we are done with this diagnosis. This car has a bad alarm control module. Now you may wonder, why are you saying you're done? Don't I need to check the alarm control module? The answer is no. I'll tell you why. This alarm control module is under here. I'm not going to pull this out. I know it is the only thing that's remaining on that circuit. And the other thing is, this alarm is not working. The key fob does not do anything. So there's no keyless entry, there's nothing. So that is enough evidence for me that that module is bad. Now, the question is, why don't I go in there and check? Because I am confident of my diagnosis. And remember, what is my job here? My job here is to identify the problem. That's what diagnostics is. If I am to do all this, I need to charge for repairs, not diagnosis. Now we're going into the realm of repair. But the diagnosis is done. So what I'm going to tell the shop is they need to fish out this alarm module and replace it or disconnect it. And that will solve this problem. Now here's the thing. Could we be having an input problem that's keeping the alarm control module from going to sleep? Or is it just defective? From this diagram, you see we have an input on the door key switch and the power window main switch. All right. So the power window main switch switches to the body integrated unit. The door key switches to the body integrated unit and the alarm control module. Now I have noticed something about this door key switch. It's not working. So let's come here. That is my key. Put it in. And listen. No central lock activation. So, if I have no central lock activation, then it could be that my key switch is either bad or it's stuck on. If it's stuck on, you know what it'll do? It'll keep this guy from going to sleep. So how do we verify the key switch? Simple. We come to the main door panel where it meets the instrument panel. That's the instrument panel harness. That's the door harness. We're going to disconnect this. And when we do that, we're going to effectively isolate all the door electronics and see if our alarm control module will go to sleep. So if we go to our door harness here, it's on the right hand side, and you can see that that's the main harness, D83. All right, so let's see where it is in the car. It is conveniently right here. So this is the door, just to give you a perspective. That's the door harness. It comes through and it comes here, and that is my D83. So let me just disconnect this, and then we are going to see if our draw goes away. There is our harness disconnected. Now the door is completely isolated, and that switch should have no effect. Let's go to the battery and look at our draw. And our draw is still there. So 100% confirmed we have a bad alarm control module. Okay, this gets very interesting. I left instructions that they should just open up the panel here, look for the alarm control module, and then disconnect it, and that should solve the problem. I got a call. This guy told me, hey, we've looked all around here, we can't see an alarm control module. Would you come back and just double check that? So of course I was interested. So they put the panel back because there was no module in this area over here, but I told them to leave this side panel off because that's where the diagram showed it was. So right here we see the connector for the alarm control module, but the alarm control module is not in this car. So either somebody has already disconnected it or it didn't have it, but there is no option for not having it. So I think somebody has already disconnected the alarm control module, so we still have a draw. Very interesting. Now we have nothing else in this area, so I double checked my diagnosis and I am spot on. There is no other alternative to the alarm control module. I need to interrogate that line that goes to the alarm control module and to the BCM and to the lights, because that's the only thing. So where are we now? We have no alarm control module. The connector is disconnected. Our BCM is still disconnected. That's there. Our fuse box is still disconnected here, and we still have a draw on that fuse. Let's go back to the wiring diagram and see what is the other alternative we have. All right, so a quick recap. We are drawing on fuse number 8, confirmed. That's that fuse over there. Fuse number 8 comes from this power supply circuit, and it branches off into two places. It branches to supply D here, and it branches to MB29. D is the fuse box. We've completely disconnected the fuse box and isolated this. So our draw is only coming through MB29. Okay, MB29, from our description here, we've got the interior lights, spot, vanity, paddle, foot, alarm, and room and rear. And then we have got the alarm control module. We do not have an alarm control module installed in the car. It has been removed. So body integrated module is completely disconnected. We have to revisit this light circuit. So let's go to our interior lights. So clearance light and illumination light system and interior light system. Let's go to the interior lights. Right hand drive. So I'm just going to go through this quickly. Most of it is a recap. So it's not this one. Hold up. Let's go to MB29 is here. So MB29 comes and it feeds the body integrated unit, which is disconnected, but it also goes through the splice, the joint connector, and then it feeds our interior lights. So we've got the vanities, the spots, and the rear room lights. Now all these lights are off. There's nothing else on this circuit. What I'm interested in knowing is there a draw going into this side of the line. So we do not have the body integrated connected, so we can only be drawing on this side of the line. Even though we are off, we need to follow our evidence. Our evidence is pointing us to this direction. So what I want to do is to find this blue red wire and this joint connector, if I can find it, and then we find our draw. So where is this? This is R50, B90 and R50. Let's go down here to the rear wiring harness, that is R, right hand drive, and we look for R50. Oh, sorry, right hand drive is here. R50 is here, the bulkhead wiring harness. Okay, so let's come here, blow this up, open, and R50 is here. So it's the one that goes on the pillar up here. Okay, so let's go to that location. So we are under the car here. R50, just to give you a perspective of where I am, that's the steering column, and we are way up there, so that one on the corner up there is R50. It's an impossible location to get to, but that line comes on the pillar. So I have opened the pillar and I've isolated the wire, and it is right here. So we're going to take our current clamp and put it on DC, zero it, and then connect it here. So we want to see whether our draw is going to the roof. Now remember, you need to zero your current clamp in the position where it's going to be in and leave it there as much as possible. All right, so let's clamp on that wire and look at that. Our draw is actually on that wire going to the roof. Very interesting. So now we have a draw in the roof. Now we know we are not drawing from the vanities, we are not drawing from the maps, and we are not drawing from the room lights, the two of them. From the wiring diagram, there is no other circuit that is on this line. So what do? We have two options. Option number one is somebody has installed an aftermarket system somewhere in the roof and has used this power line as a power feed. Okay, that's option number one. Option number two is we have a sunroof here. There could be water intrusion in here, and the water has seeped in and has corroded some connectors and has partially shorted the power line to ground. The only thing is, if you look at this draw, it's not a steady draw. That draw is a variable draw. So right now it is 95 milliamps. It goes up to around 120 and then goes down to around 40 and then 70, and it takes some time. So the question is, why is that a variable draw? That suggests to me that maybe there's a module up there. What I want to do is to take my current clamp let's hook up a current clamp on the Pico, and I want to see how that current looks like when it is drawing. And then we are going to interrogate further. But there's something in the roof that is not part of our wiring diagram that is taking up this current. Just to show you that variability, look at that. See that? So that's what that current draw does. It varies, goes up and down, up and down. Okay, let's hook up the Pico and see if there's any pattern to it. So I've hooked up my current clamp over there on that wire, and the Pico is running. And let's look. And that's what we have. So is it random? Sure looks to be random. I'm wondering what these spikes are. So let me just pause this quick and check out these stuff like this. Looks like random to me. And this, oh no, this is not random. Okay, so let's wait until we get that large draw. So what are we on currently? We're at 92 milliamps. Okay, it's exactly what we were seeing before. Okay, we got that bump there. Now, look at that. That to me does not look like it is corrosion. This looks like a module. Okay, look at that again. Okay, so there's this. And there's this. All right. So I am more inclined to the fact that there is something installed in this roof. What I can actually do real quick is the only place where water can enter and do messing, the only place that water can enter and do some messes up is in this roof panel. So let me just strike this while watching my scope, and I want to see if we get a difference. And I'm not seeing a change over there. Okay, so I'm going to open here and see what we have up there. If we don't have anything in here, then I'm going to tell them to drop this roof because something is up here. So let's open here. Okay, I already don't like this. My screws are corroded. All right, so that shows that maybe we have some water intrusion in there. I don't know. So let's open this, bring this down, and see what we have behind there. All right, I have removed that panel. This contains the sunroof controls and the lights. Sunroof is on a completely different circuit. The lights have no corrosion on them whatsoever. Only the two front bolts were heavily rusted, but that's not an issue. Pretty common for sunroofs. But we still have our drain. Nothing has changed. Connectors here all look clean. And check this out. periodically this happened. Look at this and look at this. So you have this type of thing, very consistent, and then this is the smoking gun. Look at this. Massive spikes. We are spiking up to 800 milliamps, and it's extremely consistent. 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. Guys, corrosion will not spike current this high and will not do it this consistently. We have a module in this roof, and it's an aftermarket module. So what I have instructed them to do is to get an authorization from the client and to rip this roof panel off. I'm not going to do it. The garage will do it, but I'll definitely come back and tell you what I find. But this is very interesting. So let me come back tomorrow and see what we have in here. Exciting. Okay guys, I'm just curious. So I just remembered that I have a bore scope, and I have inserted my camera inside the roof. So let me give you a perspective. So I've inserted it in there and I've pointed it in this direction. Okay, and I see you. So there is something in there. If you look at that, that is an orange light. Let me see if I can record video on my bore scope, and I'll put it up on the screen as I'm moving this around. So let me just push my camera in, and there is your aftermarket device right there. Now that is a pretty cool shot. Okay, so that device has a lamp on it, and periodically that lamp goes on and off. And when it does that, I think that's when we get our current spikes. And that is the source of your current draw. That is pretty amazing. So let's just watch it. You'll see the light go off and come back on. 4, 5, 6. There we go. So it's off and the light comes back on. That is pretty cool. So whatever it is, I don't know. I don't care. I don't care to know. All we'll do is to tell the garage 100% to drop this panel. So I am pointing my camera here, and whatever it is in this area over here, just behind our visor. Okay, 100% confirmed. Our battery draw is coming from there. Now what is that? Is that a spy device? Is that a tracker? Like I said, I do not know. I do not care. These are things that can get you in trouble. I do not want to find out what it is. In fact, I'll just tell the garage, just let me know whether I should disconnect it or not. I just don't want at all to find out what this is. Okay, so let's come tomorrow when they've peeled back this panel, and then we will see what we see. All right, we're here the next day, and they have lowered the headliner here, and here is our guy. So this is the module. It's very much alive. So that LED is what we were seeing, and we have this. So it's some kind of GPRS device, and it's right there. Now I'm going to mind my own business. I'm not going to question him what this is. I don't care, not interested. All I want to do is to restore this car to normal so it doesn't draw. So we are going to disconnect the power to this thing. I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to remove it. I'll leave it exactly where it is. All I'll do is make sure that I disconnect power to the unit. And it looks like it's drawing its power. Is it from here? Let's see. Okay, it's drawing its power somewhere from this harness. So let me look for that location, and then I'll just isolate that from the harness, kill this guy, and call this a day. So there's all that junk. They were just hanging on the power lines. They were not connected to anything else, and they were not even taped down. They're just hanging there, so there's no reason for just leaving them up there. I'll let him decide what he wants to do with that. I've restored the wiring. So there are two boxes there, this and that. One was drawing power from here. The other one was drawing power from this location here. So I've restored the wiring. Okay, let's just start the car, make sure that it starts up nicely, which it does. No errors. Now that traction control was because I disconnected a couple of things, so I need to clear codes. Now the moment of truth. Let's shut this thing down, lock the car, give it 15 minutes, let it go to sleep, see how much draw we have in the battery. I want to see less than 30 milliamps. Alright, vehicle is asleep. It's been 15 minutes and we are sleeping at between 22 and 26 milliamps. That is the keep alive memory for the ECU and the airbag. I am happy with that, and our work here is done. This Tribeca had a very interesting draw. I wonder how any other shop would have found this, and I doubt they would have found this. How would you have found this? Good use of wiring diagrams. Think outside the box. When you're all out of options on the wiring diagram, still follow your evidence. If there's nothing on the wiring diagram and there's something still drawing, look at the current. If the current does weird spikes in repetitive patterns, you have a module, an aftermarket module. That's how you find it. All right, that's it for this Tribeca. Another one for the books. I like this one, a very interesting one, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Until next time.